Alright, if you need some help with argumentative weakness, you have come to the right place. This is easy. Let's take a look at what the rubric says that you need to do in order to get full points on argumentative weakness. So, weaknesses of the argument and areas for further investigation are specifically identified and briefly explained. Excellent. Now, how do we do it? What is it and why? So, here's a question to ask yourself, right, when we're thinking about these things. Have you ever been in an argument and the person you're arguing with points out something wrong in your argument that really just defeats everything that you have, right? And you really can't come back from that. However, when you yourself are the one that points out something wrong in your argument, it makes your argument stronger. So recognizing your own weaknesses makes your argument stronger, right? It's always more helpful, right? When you are the one to point out your weaknesses and to point out what you need to do and improve on rather than when other people do them, right? Because it shows that you know, and it shows that you already know that it's an issue, right? Or that it might be a certain weakness. So that way your reader or the person who's looking at your argument, right, knows to trust everything else you have to say. Because if you can recognize your own weaknesses, you can also recognize your own strengths. And that's on period. So how do we do it? Few easy things. There's two ways that you can do argumentative weakness, all right? And one is easier than the other, right? Personally, I find the first option to be more easy. And most of the times, we all could use some more of this, right? So it's identify where more research or investigation is needed. So oftentimes, when you're doing a project, right, for class, you have a time limit. So for ours, we had about 3 weeks or so to work on this, right? That is a very small amount of time to do good research, right? To do some good investigation. So chances are there's always room for you to go and do some more research and investigate other points, right, in order to fully explain your claim. So an easy way to do argumentative weakness, right, is to let the reader know, hey, there's some parts of my argument where I could do more investigation in, or I need to do more research in order to have a better argument, right? Now, the second one is to identify any weaknesses in your actual argument, right? This one I find a little bit harder to do, and you can do this, right? But I would mostly probably try and stay away from this one because you don't want to expose too many actual weaknesses that you might have to where your argument is not strong, right? However, this is definitely something you can do if you know that you have something in your argument that is just not the strongest, right? You could definitely point that out and point out ways in which you plan on fixing it, okay? So how do we do it? Okay, how does it look in your actual essay? So most often it's a separate paragraph, usually towards the end, right? But oftentimes it's built in as well, right, into your paragraphs that you have, okay? So if you have a certain point in your paragraph, in your essay, right, that could use a little bit more research or maybe is not the strongest, you could point out that weakness right then and there in that paragraph, or you could point out weakness of the essay or the argument as a whole at the end of the paragraph, all right? Here's an example, okay? So for my example, right, if you remember, I was looking into indigenous foods, right, and I settled on researching the potato and the potato's influence on the world. So I was able to come up with this little paragraph, right, about weaknesses for the potato. So, or for my essay, right? And I settled on doing some weakness in terms of needing further investigation. So let's take a look at what I wrote. Although it is clear that the potato is an essential part of many different societies worldwide, further investigation is needed into potato production in China. Because Chinese potato consumption is a relatively recent phenomenon, more research needs to be completed to understand the true impact of the vegetable on Chinese society. So in my essay, I have a part in there, I have a point about potato consumption in China. However, right, I wasn't able to find as much research as I wanted to on Chinese potato consumption. So I have my weakness in my essay that lets the reader know, hey, I still know about this, right? However, more research needs to be done before this becomes a fully realized point or a fully realized explanation. However, you could still include it in there as long as you have this as well, too. Okay, so argumentative weakness is really easy. Don't overthink it. As long as you have it in there and you let the reader know the areas where your argument can improve, it's going to make your argument 100% stronger.